Try number 2. Welcome into the Nutmeg Tavern. We are live. It is Friday. Finally, it is Friday. And we are all here in the Nutmeg Tavern ready to just go out on this week, leave it behind, have a nice weekend. It's going to be hopefully the right kind of temperature. Do we know what it's supposed to be?
74 tomorrow. Sunny.
74. Oh, I'm dying. 74 and sunny. Okay. So today's live stream we are doing on leather again because leather. It isn't again. I mean, how many leather live streams have we done?
Well, we very recently had someone come in and be a guest about tanning, which was excellent to, have someone.
But recently, I mean, that's been like a year.
Well, but I still count that as recently. So I don't know that we've done many other live streams specifically, but I did make a playlist of videos
Yes.
specifically that have been leather focused.
Right. If you're interested in leather topics here on the channel, like when Brandon made that was a really popular one. He made other stuff that's probably
right. He made those two things that are the wallet. He made the document case and the wallet and the notebook that are all here.
So we've got some videos on that. We've got the live stream that we did specifically on the tanning process and by somebody who actually has tanned, not me. Because while I like leather, I don't know if I want to do that tanning process. Because the more I read about it, the
gives you a lot of respect for the people who do it.
The less I want to do it. Leather is really important in the 18th century, and it's actually important today. So we still use leather for a lot of products. And when we want to get away from leather, it's like, oh, I don't want to use leather for this reason or that reason. We still try to emulate leather with plastic and thises and thatses. And it can kind of do a better job sometimes, but not really. Once you've used real leather that's high quality and works for the particular job that it's meant for, you realize how amazingly good it is. So we're going to be talking about what's happening with leather products in the 18th century, all the crazy things they're making out of leather. So today, let's see, what do you use leather for? So like the uppers on shoes, you'll buy leather shoes and sometimes it'll have a leather sole, rarely. And it'll have a leather upper, but a lot of all the rest of the shoe, all the stuff that's happening in the sole is actually different kinds of plastic and cork and glue and all that kind of good stuff. I can't remember. I wonder if those guys still have that YouTube channel where they fixed leather shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Something and something. I can't remember their names.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to see what's going on inside of a modern leather shoe, their channel is just so fabulous for that. I mean, who knew you could find a YouTube channel where guys take apart shoes and put them back together again and tell you all about shoes? So cool. What else? We use leather for, help me out, leather jackets, leather luggage sometimes.
Lots of purses, bags, that sort of thing.
Purses and bags, right. Belts.
Yes.
Right. So that's probably the major place where you're going to be using leather. But historically, it was used for all those things, obviously, and more. A lot more leather garments, especially breeches, leather, like buckskin breeches. One of the things we don't think about today, we still have a very few copies of editions, what would I call it, of books that are bound in leather, but it's super rare today. Everything is bound in some kind of paper, cardboard, whatever. But any kind of hardback book in the 18th century is going to have leather. It might be partially cardboard, but it's going to have leather on the back. They're using leather so we've got journals here, we've got bags here, we've got different things like the bottles, and lots of the luggage was leather. Sometimes it might be a wooden box that's covered with leather, but it's still using lots of leather. So we have, all these different ways of using leather. And yes, they had crazy colors of leather. So we might think, oh, all their leather was, brown. Maybe it was black. But of course, they had lots of white leather. They had black leather, and they had crazy colors of leather. Like, so we've got this little section out of an encyclopedia from the time period. Red leather, very, very popular. Black, they had blue that they dyed in indigo. Yellow, that they would use barberry and alum, and it would turn it yellow. They had green, where they would do a particular kind of blue and then a yellow on top of that, and it would turn into a green thing, and even violet. So they would take the blue, and then they would put cochineal in it, and it would turn it violet. So don't be shy about, using the occasional strange color of leather in the 18th century. They might not have had the crazy bright colors that we had, but even some of the pieces you see in museums is still pretty bright colored, right? Like the reds are pretty red.
I feel like the reds especially are some of the most vibrant, yeah.
Right. Strangely enough, you would think that it might be hard to do, but the process, so one of the processes that's here, we talked about the process a lot in the tanning episode, but we didn't talk about something like Morocco leather. And Morocco leather is happening here in our time period, and the process was just, it's pretty hilarious. So this particular kind's mostly done with goat and with sheep, and in this process, they did this great thing. It's like, okay, they would get the hides dry, so after they were skinned and whatever, they would have been stretched out and, whatever. But the tanner gets them dry, and he throws them into stagnant water for a couple of days, and then they kind of scrape them and get the loose fat and flesh off them that, if it hasn't been done properly. They put them in lime pits for 12, 15 days. They talk about this process where they take the hides. So after they laid in the lime pit, they would clean them. And for a long time, they were cleaned by putting them to get the lime out, they were putting into a vat with dog dung. So that was the main thing. They would take all these dog, and they would put them and make this big soup of. They would toss the hides in there.
The people in the chat were commenting earlier about how the leather tanning people lived outside of town, or they worked outside of town, outside.
Wait, can you imagine? Hey, come over here to my vat of. Anyway, they would put it in there. Well, apparently they got tired of doing that, and they changed it to immersing the skins into sour bran. So what they were trying to do was the lime was alkaline, and then they needed an acidic pit. And instead of using dog, they would use sour bran, which just sounds a heck of a lot better. All of a sudden I can hire people, So you're the tanner. No, nobody's going to work for you, bud. And then they would do this thing where they would sew them together. So then they would use a tanning method after they would dye them at that point, and then they would tan them. I always would have thought you would tan them and then you would dye them, right? But they're dyeing them first. And that's where you get the red, the black, bluey, whatever. And then you tan them, and they would use sumac. So sumac bark. So we talked in the tanning one about using oak bark and some of the other ones that have tannins in them, but they're concentrating on sumac here. So they would take the hide, and it says, so this is still, possibly with hair on it or the hair side of it. They would sew it into a bag with the hair out, right? It would sew it into a bag until it was like almost closed at the top, and they would fill it with the sumac bark and water, and then tie it shut so it was like a big balloon.
Okay.
And then they would immerse that into a vat, and then guys would like poke it like all day long. They would be poking it, and they would be rolling it around and doing stuff. Can you imagine 12 hours of, well, I'm poking this balloon of...
Right, and I'm imagining doing it with wet fabric, which would be hard enough,
yeah.
but the leather would be even harder to move and like make sure it's doing what it needs to.
Right.
Ugh.
And then they would like drain it out, and they'd let it dry, and then they'd do it again, like the next day. They would, so, yeah, this is weird. Stitched up leather balloon. At least you weren't doing it in a vat of dog stuff, right?
Right?
Hey, it's a big plus. Once it's tanned, the skins were unstitched, rinsed, and beaten. The hair sides received a slight coat of linseed oil applied with the sponge to prevent them from drying too quickly, and they were hung out in the drying loft. And then the currying process would happen after that, where the leather was made supple for whatever that particular task was. Some leathers you want to be very flexible, and other leathers you want it to be, really stiff. So, the courier is going to be adjusting all those kinds of things. It's like, well, you're going to want it, and it changes the surface too. Do you want, a very, very smooth, almost varnished surface or whatever? So it's going through the hands of different people that are adjusting everything. It's like the tanner does the tanning part, and the courier does the currying part, and then whoever's going to finish this thing up. So let's jump in. We talked a little bit about the tanning and mentioned all these different colors and the methods. So let's look at some of the actual products, and these are all museum pieces, collection pieces, so we can see what's going on. Now, we still use all this leather for purses, right? And they were doing something similar. Now, there were all kinds of dispatch bags, and just like there are today, in the 18th century, probably even more different kinds. But here we have, I don't know, that purse looks like a purse.
Right?
It's just,
Looks like you could find it in a store today.
Yeah, it might be a crazy design. It might be, Italian and cost you $3,000, but there it is. Who knows? It might have cost that much in a time period. How they decided to make a purse that looked like a big flower pot, I do not know. But those French people with their fashions. So there you go. Here we have first quarter of the 19th century, and that's a very interesting leather bag with the gold sort of embossing thing going on all over the place. Very interesting looking bag. So here, of course, on this set of bellows, we're looking at the wood carving on the outside, but the inner part of the bellows is, and how it works, you can't make bellows without leather. Well, okay. Industrially, they used bellows that sometimes would be interlocking wood pieces that might have just a little kind of leather gasket. But the vast majority that we see are like this, with two hinged wooden things and the leather that kind of it can expand and contract. And what's really important, not only the outer part of the leather, but where the two boards come together with the nozzle, all that has to be leather, and that seals it all up. Now, if you want, of course, more kind of what's going on with bellows, make sure to check out the bellows episode we did, where we made a giant set of bellows, which helps. It's easier to see what's going on with a big set of bellows than it is with a smaller set of bellows. But you got valves inside of it, and the leather is part of the valves. And this actually reminds me, thinking about it being gaskets and all that kind of good stuff. One of the other places that we didn't talk about leather, and that is leather hoses.
That's true. We didn't talk about that.
Right. So
yes.
If you need a water hose in the 18th century, you're going to be kind of piping stuff around. You need it to be flexible. So in a brewery, the firemen, they have leather hoses. it's hard for us to imagine using leather hoses, but that's exactly what they were doing. Here are multiple different kinds of leather-bound books in the time period. Oh, to have beautiful leather-bound books today. But no, we get faux leather, We get this plastic stuff that's...
I know. I feel like you can't get leather-bound books today, and they're expensive. And you could get leather-bound books back then, and they were also expensive, right? Like, they were expensive then, too.
Right. But there's nothing quite like a beautiful leather-bound book. So here we have different... look at that 1740 book with that. So nice.
I really, they just... I certainly picked these out because I just thought the designs were beautiful, along with the colors and everything.
Here is a writing box. Now this is probably a little thin wooden box covered with leather. Probably. I'm not going to rip it open and find out. But we could tell that this was a very high-end piece for the time period. All that gold work is all done by hand. Somebody's doing all this stuff, have special tools, and today we would just have a machine, it'd squirt those things out by the billions, right? And there's your box. Not so in 1783. A fantastic looking briefcase from the time period with, what is that, like a code to open it up on the front?
I wanted this piece. I really love this one.
It's got a combination. That is crazy. Yeah, so a 3-letter combination. So you could have like a 3-letter word, or maybe your initials or something to open it up. No way you could get into it any other way.
Well, see, I was worried. I'm like, what if someone cut into it to get it open, and then it would be destroyed? That's okay. This was just for a wax seal, right?
Yes, exactly. The lock to keep out the honest man.
Right. You're like, you could get it. This was to keep people from getting into it and you not knowing about it, right?
This is a traveling set of... What are the things on the side? Is it like a cup or something? Anyway. Yes.
I'm not sure. I was too focused on the case.
Right. As we're looking at the case, I'm thinking, what is the rest of this about? Anyway, a special formed up leather traveling case. So you can see that where we would use foam or something to have the pieces shaped in there, that was actually carved in a really soft wood. And then they covered over the outside of it with a thin leather, which is super common in the time period. And the nice thing about the leather is that you can form it to these shapes. You can take that thin leather, and it's easy to form around. Even you can form it around even thick leather and make it do interesting things. So like the leather bottle, if you want to see the episode where he does that, you can see how he takes, I think, does he fill the inside with sand, I think, on this one? It's been a while. But you can use different kinds of forms for leather and get it wet. You can heat it up, and you can force it into particular shapes. And for all these special little cases, you can form that leather up to do things that you really couldn't do anything like that with anything else in the 18th century. Maybe paper mache or something. But leather is so interestingly flexible. You can do some fun things with it. So that ring, I wonder how that ring case probably isn't more than like an inch in diameter.
Okay, so there, you want to drop out just a second and do some super chats, because one of them is connected to the slide.
There we go.
So the first super chat is from Mandatory Carrie, sharing this everywhere. So thank you so much. That's always great. And then here's a member chat from I'm sorry, this is going to take me a moment. Apocalyptolips, something like that. Always a Townsend and Joe Pera fan, and then old beer.
There we go.
And this is from the German Frontier. Greetings from Germany. Great to enjoy this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And this is from Mikamat. Loving the vest today. Wanted to say thanks for opening the tavern last week despite the storm. Hope everyone got through it all right.
Yeah, I was reading some of the comments on it, and you know, some people are like, "Oh, this is my favorite kind of live stream. They don't really talk about anything. They're just having fun." So I don't know what to tell you.
And I don't. I think everybody did around here make it through okay, even though the storm was a little troublesome. The electronics were the sufferers.
It's all that time vortex stuff. It really, although strangely enough, today I was walking down one of the paths and like a giant chunk of the top of one of our trees just fell out, and it was one of the tulip trees. It was really odd. It's like we didn't even have a storm. Glad I wasn't standing under it.
Right? Good. He was just a little delayed. That's
Giant
all.
hunk of tree.
Huh.
Anyway. Anything else?
Yes.
Oh.
So this one's from Police Brutality Simulator. Townsend's first time catching you on stream. Thanks for all the videos that you put out over the years. Your content about food, objects, and processes has added a great deal of texture to our understanding of history.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's part of how I understand it, right? So much of what we live in is material culture. You know, it's just like, what is this stuff like, right? And that is, it's hard for us to connect with the stuff of the 18th century, and it helps us think about how people would think. So.
And then this one is from Speed and Style Tony. Did they tan wild animals like a gator? And that's why
yeah, there we go. So connected with that. Okay, so what is that little green ring case made out of? If it's covered with leather, and what was the name for it, Lauren?
Shagreen, I believe.
Shagreen, yes. So that is a fish leather. So it might be shark, it might be some other kind of,
sometimes
ray.
ray, yeah.
So if that's probably, it's a guess. A lot of people wonder whether it was adapted or, let's say, come up with either separately or from sort of Asian sources. So, they're more likely to use fish leathers. And it shows up in different ways here in the 18th century in European things. And a lot of these, it's thin, it's got this really crazy, interesting texture to it that kind of looks like gator. Little tiny gator, maybe. I don't know. Or ostrich skin or something strange like that. It's got to be challenging to work in that. Here's this crazy red leather watch case. It must be really thin leather. I mean,
yes.
That watch might be big. It might be 2.5 inches in diameter.
It's true. The watches were big. That is also true. But also, that must be very fine leather.
Yeah, but notice how it wraps around that lid. I mean, it's just, wow. It's just amazing. Because it can't be that big. Here is we can tell by that bottom corner, we can see that the box is made of thin wood. Maybe it's 1/4 inch thick, 3/8 inch thick, very thin. And then the leather covers over that. It protects the wood, probably linked it together and held it together. But now, that's all those corners where it's really doing the work is the place where it gets roughed up and damaged the most. So still very, very interesting design on it. Here we have, again, a different kind of a case, a necessaries case in this case. I don't know why you would need 6 razors. It's like, how many straight razors do you need? Maybe it's a barber's kit, and he's shaving lots of people, but I'm not sure why anybody would need 6 razors in their kit. Maybe they're just really bad at sharpening them, and so I don't know.
Maybe they're slightly different for different things.
Yeah, they don't look different for me. They don't, but I don't know what to say. But beautiful, beautiful case nonetheless. Lots of furniture with different kinds of seats and backs, and you know, we might have leather couches today. They're going to have something similar to that. These are all high-end pieces, but leather is one of those items that is used by, again, every walk of life. So rich and poor alike are going to be using leather things. Obviously, these chairs are a little bit more on the high end. Yeah, maybe a little bit down here. We got American chairs. You wouldn't feel strange sitting in a chair like that today. Although those feet on the one on the left look a little like hands or something. It's strange. I'm trying to think about what they look like, but weird. Oh, look at that. What do you call those chairs that are diagonal like that?
The corner chair?
Yeah, weird, I think is what I call them. They just don't look comfortable.
What a good question. Hold on just a sec.
I'm glad you're on that side of the time vortex. Then we have that crazy American chair that looks like it would break your back if you sat in it too long. We call it the sloucher chair. A settle or settee. There we go. Looks a bit more like a church pew to me, but it's got that hole. But that's a lot of leather there. Who is going to wear these?
Okay, I thought they looked comfy, right? Kind of like moccasins, right?
How skinny are your feet, Lauren?
Well, you know,
Toes
they're
don't do
moldable.
that.
Look at them. Look at how moldable they look.
And I don't know who put those laces in.
Okay, I wasn't sure about the laces.
I think whatever museum person put those laces in was sorry.
You don't think so, huh?
I don't think so.
You don't think those were the laces
No.
they used?
No. I don't think so. And check out that.
Okay, are you ready for the name of the chair, the corner chair?
Yeah.
It's known as a fauteuil de cabinet or a fauteuil de bureau because it's French. So there you go.
Say it again.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I moved to a different. Okay, it's fauteuil de bureau or fauteuil de cabinet. And it says it's very comfortable, which I've never tried one, so I'll take their word for it.
Okay, and moving on. Jackboots. So we hear about the term jackboots, but that's a real jackboot there. Very, very clunky. Many times people talked about them. You couldn't actually walk in them. It would be like, you walk 5 steps and then you'd get on the horse because the jackboot wasn't really meant for actually walking. It would protect your feet, that's for sure. Okay, we're going to jump out of those for a minute. We are at the halfway mark, and I really cannot skip over Patreon names and YouTube names because I probably missed them. Oh, I know I missed them last week. I probably missed them the week before, and it's bad, John. Okay, here we go. New and renewing YouTube members. I know you guys make up these names just to mess with me. The Ginger Jack Corner, Lee Ruchaba, Robert Bragg, Weasel God 13, Jacob Frazier, Louis Kreider, Karen Godenschwanger, John Martin, Quicksilver Tears 921, Matthew Reedy, Joe Rooney, thank you, Joe. See, that's a name I can say. Okay. Thomas Orbeck, Chris Burton, Tennessee Blacksmith, 2018, Newport Lord, and the Legend of the Tata. So there we go. And new Patreon persons, Jacob Garwood and Francis DuPont. Thank you for your tremendous and super helpful support of the channel. Do we have anything else before I keep going?
Oh, somebody was commenting about the case with the multiple razors that you could sharpen them all at the beginning of the week, and then you'd have a sharp razor for every day, and then you could just start over. Which, especially if you were traveling, would be nice.
Okay,
You'll take it, right? You're like,
I'll let that go. So this reminded me of 2 years before the mast. Because 2 years, and if you've ever read Dana's book, 2 Years Before the Mast, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's very, very interesting. It was popular in the for people who were going to California during the gold rush, because nobody had written about California. It was just like an unknown land, right? And Dana had been to California in the 1830s or whatever this is, and he went on board a ship because he was going to college and his eyesight was failing, and people said, "You need to get the cure. You need to go to the sea." You know, so that was the thing in the 18th century. If you felt sick, you would go on a sea voyage. Maybe it's so you got so seasick that anything was better than that, and so you felt better when you finally got on land. That's what I'm guessing. Anyway, Dana, a college student, decides he's going to sign up to go work on board ship, which is crazy. And he spends the next 2 years. I think he signed up for the wrong voyage. He thought, I was going to go for 2 months, and it ended up being 2 years. Hard work as a common sailor, and they go out to California. They go around the Horn out to California, and their major job, they're doing trading. They brought trade goods with them, and they trade there. And the main thing the only thing, pretty much, that they pick up are hides. So they're going to fill one ship, actually 2 ships, with hides, and then take them back to Boston to be turned into leather things, and some of them going right back out to California. So he talks about how the hides are dealt with, and super fascinating. So they go up and down the coast doing the trading, and they'll trade for X amount of goods, and whoever the factor is or their agent at the time, he'll do the deal, and then the people will bring 100 hides, 200 hides, however many hides out to the landing place, and the sailors had to take those hides and put them on board the ship. And that's not the end of it. So one of the things that happened then is that every once in a while the ship would stop at a particular location. They would offload all the hides into the big hide house, and they would have to process the hides. And here he talks about processing these raw hides. He says, when the hide is taken from the bullock, holes are cut around it near the edge, by which it is staked out to dry. In this manner, it dries without shrinking. So here's a piece of rawhide that hasn't been stretched out. It got wet, and look, it just curls up. And so they would take these basically raw hides, and they have to stretch them all out. In this manner, it dries without shrinking. The hides are thus dried in the sun and then doubled, in other words, folded with the skin out, and then they're received by the vessel. So that's all the processing that was done immediately. And then when it was time to put them in the hide house, they would have to process them. So they'd offload them, and they would put them out to soak. And they would basically tie them up in big bundles and put them in low tide, and just let them sit there in the ocean for I think 2 days. I think he says for 2 days. Yes, they lie 48 hours, and then they're taken out. And they're put in wheelbarrows. Like, can you imagine how heavy a wet, like sea, nasty hide is? Anyway, they take these things and they put them in vats that are filled with very, very salty water instead of just the mildly salty water. And then it pickles the hides, and they're softened and they clean them. They scraped off extra gunk on those, and they lay in there for another 24 hours. And then they stretch them out and stake them out and let them dry again. And then they're folded up and then stowed away. So they kind of re-clean them, probably because they were pretty. They talk about how they would get the hides and they weren't very cleanly processed in the first place. And then this kind of, once they have all those hides, they built up in their warehouse in California 40,000 hides. And then it was time at the end of their like a year and a half of going up and down the coast collecting all these hides, and then they process them, they put them in there. Then they had to fit them into the ship. So the ship is then empty. They fumigated the ship, and then they started stuffing hides into it. And he talks about the process of even doing that, and it took a long time. They'd have to throw them out and haul them out. They had to get them out to the ship without getting them wet, which the ship it's not like it's on a pier. It was sitting out in the ocean, like a mile out. They'd have to row them out there.
Without getting them wet?
Without getting them wet. Don't get them wet. And he talks about how even the boats that they're hauling them in can't come right up to the shore. So they would have to wade out with the hides on their head. So they had like hats, and they would put sheepskin under their hat so it didn't just wear all their hair off, because it would just, after actually I think he said it takes like 3 weeks to load the ship up. So, they're carrying these hides out for 3 weeks. He's like, this loading process was dawn to dusk, all day long, stopping to eat once, and it was go, 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 go. And after about halfway through, they were stacking them in the ship, and they'd get up close to the top, and then they'd just fill it, and then they did what he calls steving them. So to steve them into position, they'd have this big stack of hides, and where you couldn't fit one more, they would fold up a bunch of them into a book. So you'd have all these hides that are folded together. Then they'd put one big hide around them, so that it was like like a book cover like that. So imagine all those are different hides, and then you have one over the outside. They'd take these sticks and they jam them into this stack and squeeze them all in, and they'd use blocks and tackles. And it's just, he's like, where you couldn't get one hide in, we would squeeze another 100 into the stack until the ship was just packed tight between decks.
I would imagine that actually would be better for them to keep them dry, right? Because
exactly.
they're just
even if they got a little damp, they would still be all squished flat. And then once they finally filled up the ship, they could come back, and even that was a harrowing experience. So amazing that whole process that happens in 2 years before the mast. Just crazy to read about it. He did a great job describing what's going on with that. And before we get back to, let me do some rest of the pictures, and then we'll look at what we've got here. So here we go. This pair of shoes is very, very thin leather on the outside, probably lined with cloth. You can see there's some cloth down on the bottom of it. But the soles are leather. It probably has a wooden heel. And then the leather on their upper, and so almost everything in this shoe is leather with a little bit of fabric inside. They even did some embroidery on the leather, which is an interesting idea there. Usually you do that on fabric. It's probably a little bit easier. So here are some leather breeches or breeches, depending on the time period and who's talking. the first pair, the 1795, are actually trousers that are meant to, they have them like little stirrups. They just kind of hold them out straight. And you can tell if they're not taken care of just right, they turn into what you have there on the right-hand side. Try getting those on.
They've seen better days.
Yeah, I mean, they're still actually in really good shape. They aren't, tattered and too worn out. They look like they've been someplace where they, where the weather has attacked them or something, but still pretty amazing. Wearing leather pants, it's hard.
Doesn't seem comfy.
Yeah, it doesn't seem.
But I mean,
it seems like they would be cold in the winter.
Yes.
And
hot
beyond
in the
hot
summer.
in the summer. Like the worst of all worlds, but.
But the thing is, I've never worn them. So, sometimes you wear a natural fiber and it reacts differently than you were expecting.
Yeah.
But I am, maybe perhaps someone who has worn them can weigh in. I can't say I'm.
Yeah. If you're a big leather pants person, go ahead and get into the chat. Tell us all about it. Here's a pair of stays. It says corset, but I don't know. Do we call them stays or a corset in this case? What do you think? 1740. This is stays. Anyway, it's got like leather trim. It might even be like lined with leather. It stays they have sometimes they have boning. The leather itself can do the forming in this case, so that maybe it doesn't have a lot of boning inside of it. But it's definitely going to hold things to form the body appropriately. Another set of stays here. And I'm not sure if I see as much leather. Now, it might be
right. Like
just all internal.
I'm assuming that they're using it, that it's cloth on the outside,
Right.
but that there's leather on the inside to help with the form.
Right. And it could even be, so sometimes you have boning, metal boning or whale bone on the inside of them, but you could even do like the leather to create the stiffness that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Into something like that. You don't see as many leather jackets, but they are there. Now, the problem is I don't know that they would get worn out in the time period. So there are some like leather shirts and.
This was very interesting to me. There was on the Rijksmuseum site when I looked for leather, they had fragments of leather from different, like you'd have tiny pieces of pottery, and they had a lot of fragments of leather from shoes or whatever. And so you could tell that while some pieces of leather had managed to be preserved, that there was far more that had just disintegrated over the years, and there are a lot of pieces that we just never got to see.
Yeah. Yep. Very much so. I mean, that jacket, that British 17th century jacket is crazy. That is really good looking for something that age. A leather apron. So one of the things we sell is a leather apron, which looks very much like this one. The center button, which we wouldn't do that today, but very, very typical in the time period. You just button that over your waistcoat or jacket button and tie the leather apron around you. And boy, look, that one's clean. For all the aprons I've ever used, they look like, like Josh's aprons. Wow. You don't even want to know what Josh's aprons look like.
They do a lot of work, right?
They do.
And you can tell.
And when you're doing hard work and you've got expensive clothes on, you want to protect them. And the leather apron's keeping you clean and sometimes protecting you because it can be a lot sturdier than other kinds of material. Apparently the inner lining of this wig, which doesn't look great, is
I thought
leather.
it was looking fine for its age.
Yeah, but you can look right through it, like, it would be.
It's not as full as a lot of wigs I've seen.
Maybe all the hair fell out and we're just seeing what's left. I hope so. Now, this is a good example. I mean, most of the things we looked at were individual pieces, but today I don't think there's much leather used in a military outfit. And
I don't know.
here is an example of, here this is the Dauphin. He's super high up, but standard soldier, not, like middling up soldiers, going to have a lot of these same kinds of things. Leather gloves, not out of question, especially for, non-commissioned officers or lower officers. In this case, he's got a cartridge box on one side, and the belts for the cartridge box, yep, all leather. And every soldier would have this. And then there's the leather sword belt. So, you could have multiple different leather belts that you needed. His stock undoubtedly is not leather, but regular soldiers are going to have a leather stock, and in this case, part of his helmet is made of leather. The bill on this one and some of the helmets were completely leather in the time period. A soldier would also have leather shoes, leather straps around his legs. He's gonna have leather all over his outfit. It's gonna be an important part of a military outfit in the time period. Here are buckles with leather in them, which is, I don't think I'd ever seen those. I don't know where Lauren found those, but pretty amazing. So buckles with leather built into them, crazy leather gloves from the time period, and you're going to have, most of these are high end, but obviously working gloves are going to be made out of different kinds of leather. Here's this.
Okay, I couldn't resist. This really doesn't have anything to do with leather.
Lauren's like, look at that. A crossbow winder, but it has a big leather handle on it. Using leather for tool handles, again, very popular. You're going to use it all over the place. A strange cup made of leather.
Also, look at the little handles.
I don't get it. Why wouldn't you make the whole thing out of silver? It's got little dragons.
That is a little odd. I love the design on this. The color of the leather with the silver is very nice.
But it's weird. It is just weird.
I don't disagree. The combination of the two, is not what I would expect. It is a little more uncommon.
Go back just so we get some more weird. There you go. That's weird. Why you would? It looks like a coconut, half of it. Now I've seen coconut cups.
Maybe it would be good for hot drinks, right? Because it'd do better heat distribution.
Yeah.
Well, because the handles wouldn't heat up.
Yeah, but you know how? You know how you make leather like waterproof for a cup like that? Mm-hmm. It's not something you want to put hot things in.
That is true. You're right about that.
So just don't do that. Anyway, there we go. Here's a box, game box made with leather on the outside. Very neat. Don't ask me how you're really supposed to tell whether, some of those pieces are kind of clear. I don't know what they're made out of. Amber? I don't think so. And some are opaque. Here again, a leather, it's a drum, and it's not only is, the belt made of leather, and of course the drummer, that belt there holds the drum up. And then the tighteners, the rope tighteners there, those are leather. And, the drum heads are made out of leather too. We have a musical instrument. I don't even want to try to pronounce it over there. I don't know about the leather on that one, but different things like that would have leather. Of course, here's the horn on the other side. It's got leather. You think that's weird? Look up a serpent. And some of those were made of leather, and they were like an 18th century tuba, and they would do this big leather doodle.
You'd be able to get the curves in.
Yeah, exactly. I love these little tiny pocket fiddles. And here's a case for one that you can imagine how small that is in there. It fits all the way down in that case. A piano with leather pieces in it, little pads and all that kind of stuff. Everything's got, it's like, well, when leather is the thing you need it for. Sometimes you get leather that holds the little hammers down, like have little straps and stuff. But here we can see the pads for that. Here's a view of the leather house. Probably not where it's probably where they sell leather.
Not where they tan
Not where
it.
they do the stinky leather work. Check this out. How about leather wallpaper? So he calls them wall hangings, but of course they lock together like tiles. Yeah, that's got to be cheap.
Sure, right?
Like everybody's brother. Yeah, I want my living room to have a turquoise and gold leather wallpaper. Most of the harness now, they're making it out of nylon straps. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you go up to Amish land, they're not using leather anymore.
I did not know that. All the stuff I've ever used has been leather,
Right.
but it's been a while, so.
Because leather, I mean, you got to take care of it
You
all
absolutely
the
do.
time. You got to
Yes.
you got to oil it down.
You gotta
do
clean it,
this,
then you gotta
do that.
oil it every time.
Right. It's like, they're using tons and tons of leather harnesses, fancy and plain. Everybody's using something like that. It's part of everyday life in the 18th century, taking care of it, making it, etc. Saddles, of course, our saddles are still made with leather. Who knows what they make them out of today? It could be made out of anything. But saddles in the 18th century, obviously. A shield with leather on the outside of it. And there are back on our purses. So what have we got here? So lots of, we sell little stand-up bags. Some of them have little round bottoms. We got just regular, flat bags, just for carrying small items. You never know what is going to go when you need to hold things together. We have had in the past leather bottles and this style and the kind that I can't remember what it was called, like a little barrel,
Oh, yeah.
at the top. Anyway, different sorts of cases. So Brandon made this leather case here, and with a little lid and everything. Journals with leather covers on them. We have portmanteaus, which are a giant version of this. So leather luggage, very popular in the 18th century. This is just the document case, and let me tell you, this is going to keep your documents
Secure.
secure. They are not getting out of there. So look at that. This is just some super leather. Did you do an episode with this one?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Brandon did an episode with the carving, yeah.
Right. So we did carving. This one's a wallet, and that's another thing you can be so decorative with the leather. Not only is it very, very sturdy, but you can manipulate it in ways in decoration that are hard to do. So here is an actual, basically a museum piece in our museum. And this is a case for a top hat. So like the early 19th century top hat. And it is all covered with, you can see the leather strap on the top there. It's got some rivets, and the whole thing comes apart here. And this is all just, there's no wood on the inside of this. It's all shaped and held together just right. It's got a cloth lining on the inside so you can hold your top hat perfectly. A little leather strap. The fact that this, which is probably 200 years old at this point, possibly even a few years older than that, is still in the shape it's in, is pretty incredible. So, a leather box from the time period. Oh. Of course, we have like leather hunting pouches that everybody is using in the 18th century. We've got and of course, get away
That was a close one.
the leather shoes that we sell, and these are made in the United States. Yes, you can find someone to make you shoes in the United States, leather made for buckles with a leather sole. It is still possible because we've done it. We do have ladies' shoes also. They're not made in the United States though. You can make protective items. So for your tomahawk, we have the tomahawk sheaths made in leather, and there's even, I even forgot this for it. So a soldier, don't ask me what this thing is. I think it's whale bladder.
That's right.
The muskets, it needs a little safety device to keep it from sparking when you don't want it to. And this is a frizzing cover made out of very, very stiff leather to protect that, to keep it from doing bad things. Simple little leather bags. And you can see around me here, giant piles of leather. There's some green leather there. We got some brown and gray leather. There's a giant pile of black leather on the ground. I don't know why it's thrown on the ground, but it is. But we don't sell leather breeches. We do not.
And we're not going to.
We are not. Ever. Tailoring in leather is something completely different. It's got a different life to it, and it takes a special set of skills to do that.
Okay, so Raji was suggesting Costrol for the little barrel-shaped. Yeah, that's the one.
You did it. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got some super chats here. This is from Mandatory Carry. I always look forward to the tavern. Thanks for keeping history alive.
Thank you.
And then this is from Farmer's Wife. Just grabbed 2 years before the mask from Libby. Yay, something new and historical to listen to.
Oh,
Thanks,
yeah.
John.
Yeah.
It's a great one to listen to. Dad read it out loud for us, which was,
Did I?
Yes, you did. Dad's forgotten already. That was great. And then this one's from Max Arcool. Wishing a lovely weekend to everyone in the tavern. Hope there's a nice leather where you are.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple questions here. Somebody was wondering if peasants and everyday folk had leather, or whether it was really just for the upper class.
They're going to have leather.
Yeah, and we are seeing examples of everyday because, we're seeing examples from the upper class because that's the fanciest stuff that got saved.
That's the stuff that survives. Everyday, poor people stuff, it gets all worn out, and there's no reason to save it. You'd be amazed by the number of 18th century shoes that they have in museums. You can count them on one hand. They're just, like men's everyday shoes. They don't exist, even though there were literally millions of them.
Everyone had a pair,
Yeah.
and they just wore them all out, or used up the scraps for other things, for repair and whatnot. Okay. Oh, somebody was mentioning the leather straps, the garters to hold up stockings.
Exactly.
Also something everybody needs.
Exactly.
You're right.
Unless you want your socks down around your ankles.
Slouching.
Whatever.
Oh, the horror. Okay, I think that's my... Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped somebody's super chat. Hold on. This is from Chucky Bo Bucky that says Chucky Bo Bucky.
Oh, there we
you
go.
go.
Thank you, Chucky. Bo Bucky. Did we get it? Did we get them all?
Rose was asking if we'd ever considered reading the leather stocking tales aloud. Have you ever run across that? Or were they too
Have
violent?
you ever tried reading James Fenimore Cooper?
Maybe a little too violent.
Lauren's, we're reading Bleak House right now.
Yes.
Wow. Wordy? Yes.
I'm enjoying it. But it is true. As he goes on, you're like,
He is. You can tell he's paid by the word.
right? The serial format lends itself to repetition, and he has a way with words. It's great. But
Let me describe the sunset. 3 hours later.
paints a great picture.
Thank you for coming into the Nutmeg Tavern today. We love the deep interest that you can, the rabbit holes you can go down on something like a topic like this. And it is, who would think that you would have a process where you needed tons of dog excrement for your industrial process. But yes, they did in the 18th century. So you just never know what the wonderful tidbits of information you're going to find, or disgusting tidbits in this case. And it's hard for us to imagine the processes and the level of depth of industry that we survive upon every day. You know, it was one little tiny thing gets taken out of our life, and we can't do our jobs. And we forget that all the time, that we live upon this layer of technology. And even though people in the 18th century were much further down, you know, they didn't have the same numbers of layers of people that they needed to survive upon. And some people, there was no layer at all. It was just them. They were at the bottom. It's hard for us to fathom life like that, and to understand the commonness of some of the things that we just don't deal with today. You know, we could probably go through life without any leather, right? We'd have a substitute for something everywhere. But that was not true 250 years ago. So always great topics and fun to dig into. I want to thank you for your amazing and critical support for what you do here on the channel. We could not come here every week and do this or the regular videos without the kind of support that we get from you. So I want to thank you for that. I hope you have an amazing, tremendous weekend. It looks like it's going to be beautiful here. Maybe it'll be beautiful where you are at too. Thanks for watching today.